Today we are going to talk about tone production and the factors that go into making this concept successful for a clear and focused sound. Let's get started. There are three main factors that go into making tone production successful on the saxophone. That's air support, embouchure, and the oral cavity. We're going to talk about air support first. I want you to think back to the last time you had a really good night's sleep and you were dozing off to sleep with a relaxed breathing. This is also known as belly breathing, right? Because we are not breathing from our upper chest. We're not breathing like this, but we are breathing from down where our lower belly is. This is also known as the diaphragm. So we want to try to emulate this in a very focused and supportive way to be able to play the saxophone. So what I would like you to do is take your hand down to the lower part of your belly and just breathe in and out really nice and slow and focused through your mouth, like so. Like that. Once you get comfortable with that, you can try to create it alongside a tempo. So you can use a metronome. A couple ways you can do this is using different counts for breathing in versus breathing out. So for example, starting with breathing in for 4, out for 4, like this. And then you can change it up. So breathing in for 3, breathing out for 4, breathing in for 2, breathing out for 4. You could also reverse the counting and making one stagnant. So for example, always breathing in for 4, but breathing out for different counts. This really helps to develop your stamina, if you will. So that is a really, really great foundation in order to support the saxophone. Let's go ahead and talk about embouchure now. So you might be asking yourself, what does that word even mean, right? So the embouchure is the physicality that we're going to use in order to support the mouthpiece and the reed in order to create the sound and allow our airstream to have a structure to go through. This is going to consist of your lips, your muscles, and your teeth. So with your lips, what you want to do is make a rounded position with your lips, looking like an oo syllable, so oo. So you really want to make sure that your corners of your mouth are nice and closed. So almost like you want them to touch without actually closing your mouth. The next thing you want to think about is actually taking the saxophone to your face and putting your top teeth on top, and the bottom teeth are going to be rolled over with your bottom lip very slightly, just to simply support the reed. So, like that. So again, the idea here is that the embouchure is supporting the reed and the mouthpiece and giving the air support, a structure to flow through. So the things that we want to avoid is smiling. I see a lot of younger students smiling, and it kind of sounds very strained and very stressed. Versus. And I'll go ahead and try this on a higher note so you can hear the difference a little bit more. So again, as you can hear, playing with very tight corners all the way back, almost like we're smiling, is a very stressed way to play. So you really want to focus on making these corners being as focused and as structured as possible. If you find that your muscles get tired while working on this embouchure technique, I completely understand. You're not normally doing that face on a daily basis, right? And there's not a lot of words or syllables that make us do that unless we're just intentionally making that face. So what I would recommend is that you practice that face structure to exercise those muscles. And you can also even take a smoothie straw and put it in and just make that facial structure to, again, exercise. So now that we've talked about our air support and the structure that goes into supporting such, let's go ahead and talk about the oral cavity now. I know that sounds a little strange, but it is actually a very imperative factor into making tone production successful. So with the oral cavity, we're going to talk about the tongue position specifically. Yes, your tongue does have to do something while you're playing the saxophone, and it mainly forms a tongue shape in order to support the intonation, the tuning, and the tone quality. So the tongue position you want to go for is using a syllable as such. He, her, or for the little ones I like to teach, hissing like a cat. You'll notice with all of those, we are creating our tongue to be in this kind of shape here, a nice arch. And you want that arch to be pushed pretty close towards the front end of your mouth to allow for articulation to occur while you're making this tongue shape. And you also want the sides of your tongue to be touching the top molars of your top teeth. And this is going to be, again, a very structured way to make tone production. So I'll show you an example with a flat tongue position versus a curved tongue position. So here's the flat tongue position. So you'll notice that even with my embouchure being in that focused format and my air support being able to support, it still sounds pretty strained and even pretty flat. And that was supposed to be a high C. So now let me show you with the more focused tongue position. Flat tongue. So hopefully you can hear the difference between a flat tongue and a more structured and focused tongue position in that arch we were discussing earlier. These components are very important to create a focused and clear sound when we're working on our tone production. So, going to show you now an example of not focused and clear structure versus focused and clear structure so you can hear that difference. So here's not focused. And now we're going to re-emulate this with a focused embouchure, air support, and oral cavity. So again, hopefully you can see that difference and see the importance of really practicing these factors. I hope you enjoyed today's video and learned a couple of tips and tricks on how to make your tone production make you sound the best on playing the saxophone. If you'd like to see more content like this, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and I look forward to seeing you next time.